On this episode of My Induction Burner Sucks, we're making roti. Everyone needs to know how to make homemade flatbread because, actually, why am I holding this? I kind of want to like not have this here. Today we're making homemade flatbread, which is such an easy thing to do, and I think a lot of people don't realize how easy it is. So for me, having homemade flatbread it's basically like the best thing you can do when you don't have any bread. Like, you know those weekend mornings when you wake up and you just want something, you need like a bread product. You need something for your scrambled eggs or something to smear some peanut butter onto, whatever. And you don't want to go to the bakery or it's closed or whatever. You can really just whip up bread in no time flat, get it? As long as it's flat bread. Because it doesn't use any yeast and it doesn't need any rising time. It comes together pretty quickly and it's way easier than most people think. So step one with roti, I think it's roti. There's a lot of different kinds of flatbreads. I think what we're making here is roti or something similar. So step one is to weigh your ingredients. I have 200 grams of flour and I have my trusty scale that I love so much. And the reason I love it is because everything's going into one dish, one bowl. I just put it all on the scale and it just measures everything for me. The next is 4 grams of salt, and I got this recipe from a YouTube video. And then it's about 180 to 190, so almost equal parts of boiling water. The woman on the YouTube video said the reason for the boiling water is that it helps hydrate the flour faster, which makes it just makes it better. I don't know. So I'm gonna pour it directly in. I'm gonna start with 185. There we go. And then I'm just using the handle of a wooden spoon to mix it together. And I think it should be wetter, like on the wetter side, if anything. Basically, as long as it's not sticking, you're good. So now my wooden spoon is useless and I'm gonna start using my hands. And I'm actually just gonna get rid of the scale all together. And they did say also that if you found it to be a bit dry, you can dip your knuckles in boiling water, which sounds really painful, and kind of keep working it with your, wet knuckles. It's a very useful video. I love YouTube. So I'm gonna need this for about 3 to 5 minutes just to make sure it's super smooth. So we're having a dinner party tonight and everyone is coming over in about 45 minutes or so. And yeah, if the roti's not done, then too bad, right? Too bad, so sad. I love doing dinner parties where I can make a bunch of stuff in advance. So I did a couple of curries. You'll see videos for them pop up over the next couple of weeks. And this roti is really the most labor-intensive thing, and it's pretty breezy little dinner party. I don't like doing things where I have to worry at the last minute. Like pizza is always tricky because timing is an issue. I like doing things that can sit in the oven and stay warm for hours and I'm not worried about it. Okay, so that's pretty smooth. I'm just going to, maybe it's not quite smooth enough. We'll just hurry up. So once it's pretty smooth, just let it sit under the bowl here for about 10 minutes to let the dough relax and let the flour be absorbed by the water and just let everything just chill for a bit. Okay, so 10 minutes have elapsed and this dough is as rested as it's gonna be. So the next step is just to weigh them into little balls. So 40 grams is about right. So I'll just do that one at a time here. Let's see what we have. That's 93. So that's too big. 40, perfect. So I'm just gonna roll these. I actually love weighing dough balls. I don't know why. I think it makes me feel like a professional. It reminds me of my pro cook days. And I love how perfect they are when you weigh them. You know, you're gonna get exactly the right size every time. This is quite sticky though. I'm gonna get some flour. These buckets also make me feel like a pro because it's like industrial amount. Industrial size flour bucket. It's always good to have a little flour on the side wherever you're working, just in case. And this is quite sticky dough. You know, 39, 41, 40, somewhere in there. This is my approximation. 42, good enough. 46, that's kind of big, but that'll be mine. Okay, so then whenever you're rolling dough balls of any kind, the more round it is when you start off, the easier it is to get it properly round. So it's always a good idea to just make it round from the beginning. And just flouring my hands. I don't want to get too much flour in here because they'll get dry, but just enough to make them not stick to my hands. And I'm just gonna pick my favorite here to roll out first. This one looks good. And I'm just gonna roll it. So the thing with rolling is it's good to use short strokes. Got like herbs and stuff here. Little short strokes, not long strokes. You don't really want to roll all the way to the edge. You just want to roll a little section in the middle and then keep turning it. And that's how it'll become round. And I did see the woman who was showing me this on YouTube. She was kind of putting more emphasis on the edges. So turning and kind of pushing on the edge. I don't know what kind of difference that makes. And you know what? Not all your rotis are going to be perfectly round. Let's just get over that hurdle right away. Okay, so the pan smells hot, so I'm going to start frying. I have a dry cast iron pan here. And the hope is that these guys kind of inflate as they cook. So here goes nothing. It'll start off with little bubbles and then hopefully get bigger bubbles. Okay, so I'm starting to see a couple of little bubbles. So I'm gonna flip it. Ooh, yeah, I'm getting the trademark brown dots on the bottom. And if you can see that, can you see that? It's starting to really blow up and inflate. I love it. It's so cool. It's like a pocket. And then you can kind of push on the bubble and see if the bubble will kind of inflate the rest of it. Yeah, that's what we want. Totally fine if it doesn't inflate fully, but it's kind of the goal. If your roti inflates, that is kind of what helps guarantee that it won't get tough as it sits. It's like creating that air pocket helps it stay tender. Look at this. Yeah, totally inflating. Can you see that? So fun. So fun. Okay, I'm really happy that I got at least one inflator. And then when it's done, when it's brown on both sides and totally puffed up like a miracle, I'm just gonna put it on the plate. And then normally I would brush it with ghee, but I've got some dairy-free people coming over for dinner, so I'm doing coconut oil. Just give this a quick wipe because I've got an excess of flour in there. And then I'm just gonna go with the next one and just keep going. It's a lot of smoke. So unplug the smoke alarm, And you know what? I think part of the problem here is I have way too much flour on the go. So I'll try and dust off more flour next time. Got my coconut oil brush. It's nice to have a little fat on them. You can also, oh my God, look at this. This is problematic, isn't it? It's too hot. Stupid thing. I actually think it's just out of control. Like the heat doesn't regulate. It was all going so well. All right, so once you've got this flatbread, there's so many things you can do with it. It's the best. I'm gonna make a few different versions. This first one is just some coconut oil brushed on and then finely chopped green onions. So this is kind of like a scallion pancake vibe. And then you just kind of cut a slit in it and then roll it around itself into a bit of a spiral kind of pattern. And then you just kind of give it a little twist and squish it down and then basically just roll it back out again in its squished spiralized format. And then that creates kind of a lot of like little layers in the dough, and it's so nice. And all the kind of green onion flavor just really gets kind of mashed in there. And then you just cook that. And the next one I'm doing is a sweet version. So again, coconut oil, you can use butter. And then I'm just sprinkling it with sugar and some cinnamon, and then doing the same spiralized technique on that and rolling it back out. This one's gonna be so good. It's such a nice, easy dessert or breakfasty thing. You could even top it with ice cream if you wanted, or some fresh berries, and that's delicious. I also made a plain one, but I like having plain ones for breakfast with eggs, so I'll show you that in a minute. This is a little bit of an experimental version. I'm putting homemade nut butter, so this is like a pumpkin seed walnut butter that I made, and I'm sandwiching that between two of the rotis, so that was like real thin ones. And then I'm just gonna give it a little wipe down to get to the next phase. So if I'm having breakfast and I've got flatbread, I might just, you know, scramble some eggs and drizzle the flatbread with whatever I feel like and put the eggs on and some hot sauce. You could of course make this as elaborate as you want, but this is pretty good for me. I'm happy with a scrambled egg, homemade flatbread roll up, no problem. And then for the scallion one, I like to just drizzle it with chili oil because I'm totally obsessed with chili oil. And look at the flakes. It's like this layery, feathery kind of croissant-like texture that you get from it. It's so good. And then I'm just dipping mine in some Chinese black vinegar because I'm obsessed with it. It's the same vinegar I use for dumpling dipping. It's wonderful. And here's that cinnamon one, and it's so pillowy. I love it. And then I just brushed it with more coconut oil and sprinkled some more sugar on top. And again, it's got that kind of like croissant dough, kind of flaky, layered kind of texture. And I'm just gonna chow down on this one all on its own. And then the old experimental nut butter one, just top it with some jam and you're good to go. All right, that's it. I'm gonna just keep going with these, but that's it for today's show. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Right? Is that it?